It's going good. It's going good. I was able to get a workout in, and about
Nice.
the storm though, here in probably an hour. So
Yeah. Where are you at right now? Are you back home?
no, I'm currently in West Virginia visiting my girlfriend.
Okay. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I'm up here in Hamilton, up in Canada. So one of the cities you'll be visiting, I guess now you're part of the Alouettes. I wanted to start off with saying congratulations. I know it's a huge signing for you being able to come up here and play for the CFL.
Oh yeah, no, appreciate it, man. Absolutely blessed. I'm very thankful that the Alouettes organization gave me a shot, and I'm just excited to get started whenever that day may be.
Have you had a chance to visit Canada or visit Montreal yet?
Yes. So back in March, we went
Okay.
up there for about 3 or 4 days and had the opportunity to kind of throw with some of the guys and all that
Yeah.
good stuff. Vernon Adams set all that up and did a great job with it.
Nice. Do you have any first impressions you took away from that experience?
Just Montreal's a very clean city,
Yeah.
very diverse, and obviously I need to work on my French a little bit more than I anticipated. But overall, it was a great trip, man. Just having the opportunity to kind of see where we'll be working out at and all that good stuff, and having an opportunity to kind of hang out with the guys. It was a great feeling.
I mean, you see it all the time in sports that sports isn't played on paper, and it's about that team chemistry and the team bond that you have that really lets you get the best and the most potential out of the player. So like you said, taking those couple of days and going up to Canada and just getting familiar with the guys before, off season starts, really off season training, so huge to your team.
Yeah, no, it was definitely something we needed, especially with the long break that we're having right now at the moment. None of us could have anticipated the amount of time that it would take for the season to get back. A lot of us thought we would be in training camp by now, kind of finishing it up. So it was definitely a good opportunity to get up there and run around a little bit. And like I said, build that camaraderie, build that relationship with the guys and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about the mental side of football. Is there a time back when you look back on your career where it really started to click into you how important the mental side of things was to being a football player?
Yes, I would definitely say probably into my freshman year of college. I was always a guy that wanted to be the best, that wanted to go the extra mile and make sure I was doing everything I can on and off the field to make sure that I'm doing the right things. And obviously transitioning from high school to college, there's a little bit of an adjustment and things like that. But obviously there's more that goes into it than just making plays on the field. In college, it gave me the opportunity to really dive in and kind of, watch film a little bit more, study my opponent a little bit more as far as the mental aspect of things go. And just kind of just, stay level headed, don't let my highs get too high, my lows get too low, kind of stay even keel throughout the entire process. And that's kind of the mentality I've had ever since.
Yeah, a lot of the athletes that I talked to, including Gino, he shared this as well. He said that, that high school to college transition is probably the toughest for an athlete in their career. Did anything stick out in particular that kind of maybe caught you by surprise, or was maybe the most challenging to deal with making that transition?
Yeah, I think just, obviously the talent level is increased, significantly. Everybody is the best of the best from where they're coming from. And then you obviously come in and you have to compete with guys who are 2, 3, 4 years older than you. You want to get on the field now, you want to make plays now, and you have to learn that, it's a lot more than just catching a football and scoring touchdowns. There's obviously you got to be academically very, aware of what's going on and making sure that you're staying eligible and things like that. And then obviously just taking care of, like I said, your business on and off the field, making sure you're staying out of trouble. And just like I said, being that team guy, being somebody that the coaches and players can rely
on. Yeah. Before getting to college, obviously you had to be recruited to get there. And looking back at a bit of your recruiting profile, you were really only a 2 or 3 star recruit, depending on what site you look at. Looking back and thinking about that time, was that something that you were aware of? Is that something that maybe you feel that maybe kind of fueled your fire a bit, or you try really just to block that out as much as possible?
Yeah, at the end of the day, Rose Stars, I think everybody takes a little bit of it into, thinking and how they process and things like that. But, coming from an athletic family, my dad was an All-American coming out of high school. My older brother, TJ, was a 4-star receiver, one of the top receivers in the country at the time. My youngest brother was 4 or 5-star baseball recruit coming out of high school as well. So, that type of motivation, it kept me going, because obviously I didn't want to be, I wanted to be the 4-star, 5-star receiver. But, things happen the way that they do. And, I just controlled the things I was able to control. And I ended up, getting those rankings. But at the end of the day, it didn't stop me. It didn't deter me. It just made me want to be better and things like that.
I love how you said you can control. A lot of the kids that I coach with, I tell them, rankings and what people think of you, you can't control any of that. All you can control is your play and what you think of yourself. So I always tell them, don't worry about what other people say about you as a player. Don't worry about how people rank you. All you got to worry about is your perception of yourself. And as long as you're comfortable and okay with that, that's all that should matter at the end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's always going to be people that say you're better, and there's always going to be people that say you're not as good. At the end of the day, that it doesn't matter, because when I step on the field, I know what I'm capable of doing, and I know what I bring to the table. So it's just a matter of proving those people wrong every day, and just going out there, and when your opportunity presents itself, go out there and make a play.
What was it about Appalachian State that really stuck out to you, and why you chose them over other schools?
First off, they had the offense. It was something I loved. They ran the spread 4 wide, having a 1,000-yard receiver every year and things like that. They were one of the more powerhouses in the Southern Conference at the time. They were coming off of back-to-back Southern Conference championships and things like that. Boone, North Carolina, it was absolutely beautiful. I grew up in Roswell, Georgia, which is the suburbs of Atlanta, about 35 minutes northwest of it. And just going up to the mountains and kind of just getting a different feel for things, it was definitely kind of a great feeling to kind of get away and kind of just be in that cool, natural setting of just mountains and mountain air and all that good stuff. And then, I fell in love with the coaching staff, Coach Jerry Moore. Love him to death. He was one of the first guys that reached out to me when I was getting recruited. And, I loved him to death, man. And that also kind of drove me to go into App as well, along with just getting along with the players on my visit.
Yeah. Going from the Georgia area to the mountains is quite the trek for you. Was there any sort of hesitation of moving that far away from home? Or is that something that, again, you kind of just didn't really care about? It was all about football.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it was the best option for me. I felt like, in my opinion. And then I always felt like Boone was the perfect distance away from home. It was only 5 hours away. So it wasn't too far to go back home for a weekend if I wanted, but it wasn't also too close that I would feel the need to go home every weekend or every time I had a chance to go home. So in that aspect, it gave me a chance to kind of grow up and kind of be on my own for the first time in my life. And, I couldn't ask for a better college experience.
Yeah. You mentioned, the type of culture they have at Appalachian State and how many games they've won and conference titles they've won over the years, obviously allows them to play some pretty high up FBS schools. I know during your time there, you guys had the opportunity. You guys went to Michigan, right, 1 year, and was it Clemson the year after?
Yes, my junior year, 2014, we played Michigan. It was the rematch at the Big House, and then my senior year, we went to Clemson. I want to say the second game of the year.
Yeah. Being, from such a small school like Appalachian State, in comparison to those, what's your mindset going into those games? Because that's, the cream of the crop of not only college football teams, but college football atmospheres and just campuses in general. Yeah, no, I mean, the goal is to go in there and win the football game. We might be at Appalachian State playing against Clemson or Georgia, but our mindsets don't change. We want to go in there and shock the world. And then obviously from an individual standpoint, you want to go in there and show everybody that might have passed on you in those recruiting days that, hey, I'm just as worthy to play here as the next guy. It's kind of like a personal little chip you keep on your shoulder. Every time you get an opportunity to play those big teams, it's kind of like, hey, I'm here. I'm very capable of playing and I'm going to show it. That's one of the huge takeaways that I took from the MJ documentary, The Last Dance, of course. Most people have seen it by now. I'm sure have you seen a couple of the episodes? Oh, I watched all 10 episodes. Yeah. And him kind of having that chip on his shoulder, no matter the circumstance or game, and him finding a way to motivate himself. I think that was such a huge takeaway from me for playing sports. Is I always now try to find one little thing to motivate myself for each game. And like you said, for you guys, it was shocking the world or proving people wrong. Yeah. And, I love the documentary just because it gave us an opportunity to really dive into what MJ was all about, just to see the way that he was preparing, see the things that he went through and see how he handled certain things, man. You couldn't ask for a better,
icon of that nature, especially for that time and even decades after. I look up to MJ and I wish I was alive to watch him play live. That's how much that documentary was it was just a great feeling just to watch it all unfold and just see all the great things that were happening during that time.
Yeah, and after your time at Appalachian State, you had a couple stints in the NFL in their preseasons with the Falcons and the Bears. When those things come to an end and you're getting waived or released, how do you pick yourself back up and attack the next day, with the same confidence and ferocity that you had the day before?
Just, like you said, it goes back to controlling what you can control. Obviously, would I like to stick in the NFL? Absolutely. But, everybody has their fit. Every team has the guys that they need, and everybody kind of fits like a puzzle. And unfortunately, I just didn't fit at the time. But, what kept me going was the constant, fire of me wanting to play football. I told myself when my football career is over, I can spend my entire life working in a cubicle or 9 to 5, whatever it may be. But, I just turned 26 in March, and I want to exhaust every football opportunity that I have, whether it's the NFL, CFL, arena football. I've been everywhere. You name it, the Alliance League. I was drafted in the XFL draft, but elected to come to the CFL. Whatever opportunity presented itself, I wanted to just keep playing football until my days, obviously my athletic career was up. So I would say that.
Did one of those stints sting more than the other when it came to an end? Was it the Atlanta or Chicago one, or were they both the same?
They all hurt the same, man.
Yeah.
Just because everybody, it's always been a dream of mine to play in the NFL. I watched my brother the last 6 seasons play. Spent 5 in Detroit and spent about half of the year with the Giants. And obviously, I've always wanted to hit that pinnacle. Not a lot of people get that opportunity. So, like I said, they all sting the same, but it's also constant motivation to just kind of keep going and just keep proving people wrong. And like you said, when the opportunity presents itself, just take full advantage of it.
I think it's also a good lesson for other athletes to see that nobody's path is, straight up on a straight slope up. Mm-hmm. There's ups and downs, there's hills and valleys, and it's about how you respond to those downs or those valleys. Really, really kind of paints a picture of how far you'll go in your career. Because some people, that first sort of instance of adversity or failure they feel like they're going to quit. But for someone like you said, you've been many different leagues, many different teams, but here you are still getting better and better each day.
Yeah, it's my path has definitely not been an easy one, but when I look back, I wouldn't have asked for a better one. I wouldn't have asked for a different path just because it's molded me into where I am today. And, I've gained confidence playing in these leagues and having the opportunity to kind of be a go-to guy and showcasing my abilities. And, it's a great feeling. I've made some of the best friends that I've had through the Arena Football League and through these other leagues that I've played in. And, it's just been an overall great experience, man, just to every year constantly just getting the opportunity to play football, man. And, I've played for $150 and I've played for, $7,000 a week, whatever it may be. It's the low totem pole, the highest of the totem pole, and things like that. But overall, it's just, like I said, I want to play football. This is what I want to do with my life. And I'm just going to keep going until I can't anymore.
Yeah, it reminds me of a podcast episode I did not too long ago with Antonio Pipkin. Now, he was with the Alouettes last year. Now he's the QB out there in Edmonton. And we talked about, he came from a D2 background. And we talked about, what kind of advice he would give to players that are playing D2 and are kind of getting jealous of D1 players, jealous of the media, the fans, the hype and everything. And he said, if you're in it for the money or fame, you're in it for the wrong reasons. You already lost. And it's for the reasons like you described, playing football because you love the game and you have a passion for it. That's how you're going to survive in this world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just like I was saying, if you're in it for the money, you're going to fizzle out very soon because there's going to come a time where you might not get as much money as you like. And, especially in these arena football leagues starting out, the money's not anywhere, people, you can't live off it for the entire year. People were literally going to work and coming to practice and things like that, but they just loved playing the game and they were willing to do anything that they could to just continue to play, which is what the situation that I was in. I always told myself the money will come. I'm just going to continue to work hard and just kind of work my way up. And eventually I get to where I'm going, God willing. And like I said, just control what I can control and let the pieces fall into place.
Let's talk a bit about your time in the Arena Football League here. When did the Arena Football League really become a solid option for you? And maybe what were some of the physical or mental adjustments you had to make, because the game obviously is an exact replica of the college football game or American football game, so to say.
Yes. So after my stint with Atlanta in 2016, I had a series of workouts. Nothing really came about of it. I told myself I wanted to go back to school and complete what was left on my degree. And the opportunity presented itself to play arena football when Boone, the city of Boone, got a team, the High Country Grizzlies, in the National Arena League. And that kind of just started everything. So I had the opportunity to play there while going to school. And from that point on, I kind of skyrocketed. I got the attention of, scouts in the Arena Football League. And then I ended up in Albany the next year and just had an opportunity to really kind of just like dive into it and play the game. I think the biggest adjustments, obviously the field's smaller. So it's a 50-yard field, maybe by like 23 yards wide. And everything's very precise and everything's very quick. So coming from high motion, I got to get in the middle of the field and make my decision on the DB within like 3 or 4 seconds. Otherwise, the quarterback's going to get sacked because there's always constant pressure and things like that. So I think the biggest adjustment was just obviously understanding angles and what I needed to do to get open, and then understanding what defenses we're trying to do. Because obviously defenses are very unique in the Arena Football League. They can disguise a lot of stuff, especially with the jack linebacker. But yeah, just that overall, just like initial jump in to the Arena Football League, I think was the most hard part of the transition.
Did you have to change your play style at all when you made that transition, or did you just try and really be the same wide receiver you've been your whole life?
No, so I actually had to lose weight. I had to lose about 10 to 12 pounds. I was 218 when I was in Atlanta. And I remember my coach was telling me, hey, I want you to be the high motion man. You're going to be in motion a lot, but I would like for you to thin out so it can be easier on your body. You can feel quicker. And it was by far the best decision I've ever made. I'm currently playing at around 208 every season. And I feel fast. I feel quick. I feel like I'm able to get in and out of cuts the way I need to, and all that good stuff. But yeah, no, I had to drop a few LBs before I got going.
Yeah. It definitely worked out for you, because I know, I think it was 2018, you won Rookie of the Year there, was it? And Wide Receiver of the Year, a lot of good accolades there. When you start getting all these accomplishments and achievements, walk me through, I guess, a bit about your mindset of how you stay on top and still, taking things day by day. Because for some people, they get a lot of success like that and they might, relax a bit or take the foot off the pedal. And then that's when people come for their place. I guess walk me through a bit how you're able to keep going and stay motivated after getting those sort of accolades.
Yeah, I just know I'm not done. Yeah. It's nice to have the accolades. I'm very blessed to have them. And, I thank my coaches and teammates in the voting committee for putting me in that situation to get them. But I knew where my end game was. I remember MJ's trainer, Tim Grover, he has a book called Relentless that I've had the opportunity to kind of read. And
it's a great book.
Yeah, great book so far. I'm in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to finish it out. But what I've read so far has been extremely great content. And, he mentions being obsessed with the end result, and there's going to be a lot of good things and a lot of bad things that happen during your journey. But at the end of the day, if you get to where you want to be at the end, that's all that matters. So for me, my end result was playing NFL or the CFL, the big two, and what I call them is like the premier leagues for football. And I knew that I could get all the accolades I wanted in the Arena Football League, but if I didn't end up in the NFL or the CFL, like it diminished what I wanted to do with my football career. So at the end of the day, it just got me to stay focused. Like I said, very pleased and very happy for the accolades, but I also knew it was part of a bigger picture. And that was getting back to the NFL or having the opportunity to play in the CFL.
Yeah. You mentioned reading the book Relentless. That's something that I've really tried to focus on during this time off, is reading more books, specifically sports psychology books or sport mentality books, because we don't have the same access to the physical training that we once did. Doesn't mean you can't improve as a player. Again, kind of the whole premise, of course, this podcast is how important the mental side of the game is. And whether you take an hour to train your physical game or an hour to take your mental game, I strongly believe that the results are similar of how much you can improve as a player.
No, absolutely. Just having the opportunity, like I said, to watch film and, sit down and study plays and study concepts and coverages. You can't can't ask for a better time to do it because we're so limited to the outside world right now. I remember when I was in Montreal, we had a Bible study with Jake Weineke, Gino, Vernon was there as well, and they kind of led it. And they kind of got me in the process of having a prayer journal. So now I've taken the opportunity in the mornings to kind of read what I was already doing, but now write it down. So that's something I've enjoyed over the last couple of months, having the opportunity to do that. And then, like you said, read a little bit more, try to use my time a little bit better instead of just watching Netflix and TV shows all throughout the day, quickly. So
talking about ups and downs, I mean, you've had some pretty big downs, I want to say, in the sense of leagues closing or going bankrupt. I know you're part of the American Alliance Football League, and that got bankrupted, closed down. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the Arena Football League as well went bankrupt not long ago. Yeah. So there's the media and fan perception of these things, but when you're an athlete and you're playing in these leagues and they go under, what's going through your head?
Just not a lot of good things. Obviously you lose your job, and so you feel bad in that aspect, and then you think about everybody else who is affiliated with the league and these teams that unfortunately have lost their job as well. It's definitely not a good feeling. It's always a hard pill to swallow. Thinking about it, I've had to deal with it multiple times, which is never fun. But like I said, it all comes back to controlling what you can control and kind of just say, my time there was well spent. I couldn't ask for a better time in those leagues and with those teams, but all things come to a close, unfortunately, and that was just their time. So it's time to move on to the next thing. And I was just blessed to have the opportunity to stay focused on my next thing, which was, signing with Montreal and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, like I said, it's never a good feeling. You always feel for those people, but like I said, that's just life. And, sometimes you just got to roll with it and, keep your feet moving.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously you signed with Montreal, and we talked a bit earlier about being drafted into the XFL. You had a bit of a choice to make there. Walk me through how you finally came to the decision of signing with Montreal in the CFL.
Just, in my opinion, I felt like the arena game I was so good at doing certain things, especially with the high motion. I felt like going into the CFL would present the opportunity to kind of do those same things, but now I would have the opportunity to be on a bigger field. So that was definitely one of the things I took into consideration. The league's been around for decades, and there was longevity. So in the back of my mind, I was hoping that the XFL would last and would be very successful. But if I'm going off the history from myself playing in certain leagues that have all been bankrupt or folded, I wanted to have some type of career longevity with an opportunity to play in a league that I knew was sustainable. So like I said, the CFL has proven itself for decades, and, that also played a role. And then obviously just talking to certain people and talking to my mentors, they felt like the CFL was the better route to go.
Thinking about things more broadly in the mental side of the game, one thing I wanted to really get your take on is the whole process of setting goals. When I just say the word setting goals, what's the first thing that really comes to your mind, and how do you incorporate that into your football career?
So every year, every new year, I have a list, and I literally, everything that I want to accomplish in that year, it's written on a list in my phone. And as the years goes through, I check every now and then. I did this, I did that. It's just a constant reminder of why you're getting up and you're doing the things you're doing. There's been plenty of days where you're like, oh, do I really want to work out today? Everybody hits a wall, and then you remember like, hey, I got things that I need to do. There's certain things that I want to accomplish, but it's just, like I said, it's finding your why. It's the driven part of your mindset that's saying, hey, no matter what happens, I'm going to stay focused on what I need to do. And when you have a constant reminder and a list to look at, it just helps you transition better for those days where you're like, maybe I'll sleep in this extra hour. Or, you know what, I ran 10 hills instead of 15. I'll run 5 more like the next day. It just, like I said, it's a constant reminder to say, hey, stay focused on what you need to do. And like I said, keep it moving.
If there's an opportunity, or I guess if there's been a time where you look at back at the end of the season and there's been goals you haven't accomplished, what are you telling yourself?
You got to do better in the next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never like disheartening to the point where you're like, ugh, but obviously, like, hey, I didn't hit I wanted my credit to be this high at the end of the year. I didn't hit it. Well, guess what? I'm gonna work twice as hard to make sure I hit it in 2021. Or I didn't get as many touchdowns as I wanted this season. This off season, boom, I'm working to make sure I'm doing everything I can to be better. So, like I said, if you don't hit your mark, it's not the end of the world. It's just, like I said, it's another motivating factor for the off season and for the next year to get into it and be like, hey, like, I'm going to hit it this year. Didn't hit it this year. I'm going to get it this year.
I like that a lot. And really, just because you don't accomplish something in a time frame that you set out doesn't mean that you can't accomplish it ever. It just means you might take a bit more time, right?
Absolutely. And when I think of that, I think of my second stint in the NFL. It took me 2 years to get back. I didn't sign with Chicago till 2018. So just because it's not done in, like you said, in the window of time that you would like, doesn't mean that it's not attainable.
Is there one part of your mental game that you felt that you've improved on the most through your football career? Something that you may have struggled a bit with earlier on that you feel really comfortable with now?
Yeah, I just think my overall confidence in knowing that I can compete with anybody on any given day. When I was younger, I had a lot of not issues, but I would be the type of guy to kind of look in like, oh, I'm only a 2-star receiver, or oh my gosh, I'm playing against this 5-star receiver or 5-star cornerback and things like that. And what I've learned as I've gotten older, it doesn't matter. They put their socks and shoes on the same way that I do, and things like that. So having the ability to just go out there and just lay it out on the line and just know that I'm going to give my best and know that I can literally any given day, anybody you put it there in front of me to defend me, they're going to get my best. Yeah. And like I said, I will bet on myself every time. It's not a knock to anybody who would be guarding me, but it's just having that confidence in yourself to know that you can do anything that you want to do.
I love that a lot. Yeah. I got a quick game here I like to play in this podcast. I have a collection of about 12 sports psychology quotes. We'll go through a couple of them. I'll let you pick a number between 1 and 12, and then just tell me what the quote means to you and reflect on it a bit throughout your career.
Okay. 7.
7. This is a popular one, number 7. This is from Doc Rivers, legendary NBA coach, of course. He said, "Good players want to be coached, but great players want to be told the truth."
Yeah, so I think of is, you have a lot of guys who would rather get a sugar-coated, like, hey, like, you're doing good, and they might not have the mental capacity to be told the truth. Otherwise, it might shut down. Unfortunately, I've seen that in a lot of cases, just, from online, through social media, and just personal experiences. I've seen teammates, kind of fold up when coaches get on them and things like that. And, my thought process has always been, it's great if you and your coach are buddy, but, you're there to coach me. Like, I want you to bring the best out of me. I want you to tell me when I'm not doing something right, so I don't continue to do it. Because if I continue to make the same mistakes, I'm not going to get better as a player. So.
Yeah. For a lot of the kids that I talk with, they always have the perception that everything has to be perfect. And if one thing is wrong, they start to tense up and they get so scared of what the consequences are. But I think as athletes get older and older, they really need to realize that criticism and being not perfect is just not only part of being an athlete, but part of being a human being as well. And it's being able to accept the criticism and learn from your mistakes and realize that you're not perfect. You can strive to be perfect, but you might not actually be perfect. I think is a big ego check for a lot of people, but that's when you really kind of get over that huge mental hurdle in someone's career.
Yeah. 2 things my dad used to always tell me. My dad played under Lou Holtz at the University of Notre Dame back in the late 80s, early 90s. And he had coaches quotes for days. But, one thing that comes to mind is, Lou Holtz used to always say, like, if I'm yelling at you, great. It's when I stop yelling at you, that's the problem. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of people don't get. Like, as long as the coach is like yelling at you and telling you what to do and telling you how to get better, it's always a great thing. But when you don't hear from a coach and, and they kind of taper off, like, that's when you need to be worried. And another thing that comes to mind is my dad used to always tell me when somebody's coaching you, if they're yelling at you or however they're talking to you, hear what they're saying, but don't hear what they're saying, but don't hear how they're saying it.
Right.
So if a coach is telling me to get better, hear that as opposed to the way he's yelling at me to get better. And that's always been something I've taken to heart, and just making sure that I'm hearing what I need to hear as opposed to like how they're talking to me.
Yeah, for sure. You have another number between 1 and 12?
Let's go 3.
3. Interesting enough, this is a Lou Holtz quote, so I'm sure this one's be special to you. He said, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my dad's definitely said that one a couple times. But yeah, it's just, like I said, I think of, I've harped on it a lot, just controlling what you can control, and at the end of the day, just making sure that you're doing everything you can to prepare yourself for the good and the bad. And like I said, just taking what life gives you, and, life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Yeah. When I think back of what we've talked about today, really sticks out to me how, for someone like you being a 3-star recruit in college, you bounce back from that and you kill at Appalachian State. You get waived or released from the Falcons and the Bears. You bounce back from that. You end up getting, multiple awards in the Arena Football League, contract with the CFL. It's not about those bad things that happened to you that's defined you. It's again, the 90% of how you responded to those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. And one thing I always told myself is, the end game was always the NFL. So whatever league I was in, I treated it like I was playing in the NFL. And I told myself that I'm not going to get to where I want to go unless I come in and I dominate. It wasn't a matter of me being okay or me being good in those leagues. I told myself I had to literally go in there and take over the league. Yeah. And that's what I did. Like, it's just what I had to do because I knew it was going to propel me. And, I say that in the most humblest way possible. I'm not being cocky by any means. I'm just literally just saying, like, I tell guys too who want to follow in the similar path that I've done is like, hey, you can't go into an arena football league and be a second team all arena player and expect to get looks from these other leagues. Like, you have to be first team, player of the year, MVP. Like, that's just the name of the game. It's just the situation that we've been put in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, just like I said, just taking what life gives you and whatever it gives, you just make sure you make the most of it.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between being confident and cocky in those situations. And I feel like being cocky is more when you kind of rub it into people's faces, whereas being confident is you're more humble in your approach, I would say. Like, you can still say you're going to take over the league and stuff, but you're more humble about it, right? You're not rubbing it in people's faces and everything.
No, yeah. I'm always the first one to thank my teammates and first one to thank my coaches, because I know I wouldn't even be in the situation to receive an award if the offensive line isn't blocking, if the other receivers aren't doing their part to take the attention of their DBs, so it leaves me one-on-one. If my quarterback's not throwing the ball in the precise location that he always throws it, I can't do what I do on the field. So I'm a team-first guy, man.
Yeah.
I'm always quick to thank everybody around me, just because I know I can't do the things that I want to do without them.
For sure. Let's do one more quote here. You have another number between 1 and 12?
Let's go 9.
9. This is from John Wooden, legendary UCLA basketball coach. He said, don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do.
Right. So, just because you're not able to play in the NFL at this moment doesn't mean that you can't get to it. Exactly. Or whatever your goals may be. If you want to be the best surgeon, just because you're not a top surgeon now doesn't mean you can't be in 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So like I say, it just all comes back to just staying focused on what you want to do, and ultimately just knowing that, hey, if I work hard, constant focus on what I want to do, and focus on my end result, that you can pretty much achieve anything you want to, man.
Yeah. When I first read that quote, it really made me think about a lot of the hockey players that I coach with or consult with. They'll say things like, I don't have the slap shot that I want, or, I don't have the same speed that I want. And they get hung up on what they can't do. But what they forget is all the things that they did well to get them to where they are right now, whether it was like their mentality or their leadership or their energy. And I always tell them, you can work on things you don't do well, of course, but don't forget about the things that you do well. And don't let, your mind think about what you can't do stop you from doing what you really excel at.
Yeah, no. And it's funny you say that, because, I've had similar things like that happen to me, to where like I've always wanted, like, for example, I'm 6'2", like 208, 210, but I've always wanted feet of like the shifty slot guy. But like that just might not be in my repertoire. But there's things that I do as a bigger receiver that slot receivers can't do. There's things that, that speedsters, like deep threats, can do that I can't do. But there's always something that you can do better than somebody else. And then it's just a matter of like being aware of it and just knowing that, hey, like, if I do this thing really good, I'm going to perfect it and make sure that I'm the best at it. This way, it makes up for certain areas that I might not be good in.
Before we wrap up here, man, I got a couple rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
I know. You say you're trying not to get on Netflix too much right now, but is there one show you've been binge watching since this whole quarantine thing started?
I've watched a couple shows on Netflix. So we're just finishing up Defending Jacob on Apple TV.
Yeah,
which is
I think the last one came out today. I'm in on that as well. I'm literally gonna watch it right after this. Yeah.
Oh, right after this, I'm watching it.
There you go.
Outer Banks.
Nice.
On Netflix. I watched The Circle on Netflix. Literally like any new show that has come out, I've basically watched it.
You've been killing it, yeah.
Yeah.
Has there been a quarantine snack of choice in your household?
Oreos, golden Oreos.
Nice, nice and classic. Sure. Is there one DB or defense that sticks out in your mind that the matchup has been particularly tough for you? One that maybe you really look forward to facing in a weird sort of way?
For the Canadian Football League or over the course of my career?
Over the course of your career. Any DB or defense in particular?
I would say in the Arena Football League, I always enjoyed playing against James Romaine. He was the middleman for the Philadelphia Soul. Mm-hmm. He's been around for years, but he arguably one of the top DBs that ever played the game. Always enjoyed going with him because we would butt heads. Like I would score a touchdown, he'd knock a ball down or get a pick. I always knew I had to bring my lunch pail when I was going against Philadelphia.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Obviously, you're in the CFL now. You say you spend a couple of days in Montreal. Did you try any Montreal cuisine while you're up there?
I did not. So I told myself I was going to definitely try more food when I get back up there. Man, God willing, I make the team and take care of my business and have the opportunity to really explore it. But we went to an Irish pub. I forgot the name of it. But the food was really good. Yeah. But I was told that once you get the opportunity to really dive into it, it would be a really good time.
I've been to a lot of cities in Canada. Being from Canada, of course, in Montreal, the food there is definitely top of the list. It's nothing can beat the Montreal food. So I hope you get a chance to experience it all.
I appreciate it.
Do you have one person in mind you think would be a good guest in the podcast? Somebody that you know or you've played with or whoever that really has a strong mental game when it comes to sports?
Yes. So Colin Taylor. He was one of my teammates in the Arena Football League, was like a 10-year veteran. He's kind of who I watched his tape when I was first learning to play. I literally would YouTube people, and he was one of the guys I fell in love with as far as just how he ran routes, how he caught the ball, how he was able to get open. And I've had the opportunity the last 2 years to play with him, and now we're like best friends, man. Like, he's one of my best guys I've ever known. And his story, though, in my opinion, is one of the better stories, especially in sports, just because he's one of those guys that worked his way up, just from literally from the bottom of the totem pole to the top. I mean, at one point he had a banner in Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland, in the arena, LeBron, and then there's Colin Taylor. Like that's how hard he worked to get to where he wanted to be, man. So that's definitely a guy I would say, if you want to, I can shoot him his info.
Yeah, if you don't mind that, I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's out there in Ohio right now, so
nice.
Not too far from y'all.
Last question here. You come from a family of athletes, multi-sports. Think of everybody in their prime and you line them up, 40-yard dashes. Who's winning?
Oh, I don't know. My dad was pretty quick. My dad was pretty quick in his prime, man. But I would say TJ.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, TJ. Now, if we're talking like a 60 to 100 meter, I would say my dad and myself are definitely up there. It'd be a photo finish. But
gotcha. You're more top speed and he's more acceleration there, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. My TJ and Jemai, my older and younger brother, those are 40-yard guys. They'll get there in about 4.4 easy.
Wow.
So
it's crazy fast.
Yeah.
Crazy fast. Listen, man, I appreciate you taking some time today. Hope that you, your friends, and your family, everybody stays safe. I know things are kind of up in the air with football and sports in general and this whole pandemic thing. But, as things start to open up, and I wish that you and everybody continues to stay safe and healthy. And I look forward to seeing you back on the gridiron pretty soon.
No, and I appreciate you for having me on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, man. And, like I said, I hope you guys are staying safe as well through all of this. And yeah, whenever the time comes, just, we'll be ready, and, just know we can't wait to get back on the field.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to your matchup with Hamilton. I don't know if I can cheer for you that game, but I'll do my best.
Hey, totally understandable.
There you go, man. Again, appreciate your time again, man, and I'll chat with you soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Take care, man.
You too.